Hello guys, this is section 14.2, the flaws of the voting methods, and this is going to be broken up into two videos because some of the examples are a little intense. So let's go ahead and look at the first one. So as we saw from the last section of notes, depending on which method you use, it may produce a different winner. Although all the methods we've learned so far are reasonable methods to determine a winner, all of them are flawed, and this is very important. So it doesn't matter what method you use, they all will break what's called the four criteria of fairness, but all of them are flawed. So the four criteria, which are known as the fairness criteria, are as follows. The majority criterion, head-to-head, the monotosity criterion, and the irrelevant alternatives criterion. So in the first part of the video, we're going to focus on the majority criterion and head-to-head and see what that means. So objective one looks at the majority criterion. The majority criterion states if a candidate receives a majority, which is more than 50% of the first place votes, the candidate should be declared the winner. So we're going to look at this next example here, and then we're going to run through it and see if they have the majority of first place votes. The members of Mumford Town Board are holding an election to select a company to maintain the lawn located in the town's community center. The choices are Allen Lawn Care Maintenance, which is represented by an A, B&N Lawn Maintenance, which is represented by a B, and Maison Lawn Maintenance, which is represented by an M. The 15 board members rank the three choices and then use the board account method to make their selection. The preference table is shown in table 14.15. Part A, which company is chosen using the board account method? Part B, does the winner for part A have the majority of first place votes? Okay, so we're going to do the board account method, which is probably good practice from part A, 14.1. The board account method, remember we have to rank people according to the voter's preference. So the third place votes will receive 1 point, second place votes will receive 2 points, and first place votes will receive 3 points. So let's look at A. So once again, this is board account method. So if I look through each column, 8 people selected A as their first place choice, so I got 8 times 3 plus. And then I looked through the second column, 4 people selected A as their third choice, so we get 4 times 1 plus, and then A for 3 people was their second choice, so we get 3 times 2. And if I add those up, I get 24 plus 4 plus 6, which equals 34. And then we have to look at B. All right, so 8 people voted B as their second choice, so that's 8 times 2. 4 people chose B as their first place vote, so that's 4 times 3. And 3 people chose B as their first place choice, so that's 3 times 3. So 8 times 2 is 16, 4 times 3 is 12, and 3 times 3 is 9. So 16 plus 12 plus 9 equals 37. Now we have to look at M. Okay, so M for 8 people was their last place vote, so 8 times 1. 4 people chose M as their second place choice, so 4 times 2. And 3 people chose M as their last place choice, so 3 times 1. So we get 8 plus 3, and that equals 19. So the winner using the board account method would be B. B is the winner with 37 votes. So part B asks us, does the winner from part A have the majority of first place votes? Well, we have to check that out. So if we look at our first place votes, the number B got was 7. So B equals 7 first place votes. And then the total number of votes was 15. So 7 divided by 15 equals 0.466 or 46.6%. That is not the majority. Remember, majority has to be over 50%. So this is under, so the answer to this is no. So the Borda count method in this particular instance breaks the majority fairness criteria. Okay. So this next example shows a preference table of the outcome of 33 votes. So we know the total amount of votes is 33. Decide which candidate would be chosen, which each of the following voting methods. Also discuss whether or not the method violates the majority criterion. Part A, the Polarity method. Part B, the Borda count. Part C, Polarity with elimination. And Part D, Pairwise. So we have all the different methods we learned in 14.1. So let's look at Part A, Polarity. So with Polarity, that one's the easiest one of the bunch. We just look at the first place votes and record who wins. So for Polarity, A is the winner. And it says also to discuss whether or not the method violates the majority criterion. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to check that out. So remember, A receives 17 of the 33 votes. So I have to take 17 divided by 33. That's 0.515. Repeating. So the winner has 51.5% of the votes. So as long as it's over 50%, then the majority criterion is satisfied. So yes, it's okay. It does not violate the majority criterion. Okay, Part B, Borda count method. All right, this is going to require us to do a little bit of work here. All right, so I'm going to go through each person. Let's do A first. So 17 people voted A as their first choice. So 17 times 3 plus 9 people voted A as their last choice, so 9 times 1, plus 7 people voted A as their last choice as well, so 7 times 1. Okay, so 17 times 3 is 51, plus 9, plus 7. That gives me a grand total of 67. Now let's look at B. B, 17 people voted B as their second choice, so 17 times 2. 9 people voted B as their first choice, so 9 times 3. And 7 people voted B as their second choice, so 7 times 2. So I get 34 plus 27 plus 14, and if I add that all up, I get 75. All right, let's look at C. 17 people chose C as their last choice, so 17 times 1, plus 9 people chose C as their second choice, so 9 times 2, plus 7 people voted C as their first choice, so 7 times 3. So I get 17 plus 18 plus 21, and that yields 56. So using the Borda count method, I can see that B is my winner. B is the winner. Does B have the majority of the criterion? We're going to have to do some math for that. So if I look at my first place votes, B has 9 of the 33 votes. And if I divide 9 by 33, I'm going to see that that equals 0.27. That's 27% of the votes. That is too low. So does it violate the majority criterion? The answer is yes, it violates. So I'm just going to put violates. So we know so far the Borda count method violates the fairness criterion. All right, let's look at Part C. Polarity with elimination. Well, for Part A, we saw that A is the winner because they had 17 out of the 33 votes, which was 0.515, which is 51%. Remember, polarity with elimination says if you get the majority on the first round, you don't have to do anything else. So since we already have enough, A is the winner, And we can also conclude that it does not violate the majority criterion because, remember, 51% is over 50% of the votes. So C is done. Part D, pairwise comparison method. All right, we have 3 candidates. So if we use the formula to figure out how many pairwise comparisons we have, we're going to take 3 times 3 minus 1, which is 2, over 2. So 6 divided by 2 equals 3. So I'm going to have 3 comparisons. So we have A versus B, A versus C, and finally B versus C. So now we have to look at our chart again, and I'm going to go ahead and erase this stuff. And remember, I'm just looking at first place votes. So who has more first place votes, A or B? Hopefully you said A. So A wins. A versus C. Who has more first place votes? And the answer is A. And then we look at B versus C. Who has the most first place votes? The answer is B. Okay, so for part D, and I'm going to go ahead and box this off, A will receive 2 points because it won 2 rounds. B won 1 round, so it gets 1 point. And C didn't win any rounds, so it gets 0 points. So the winner is A. The question is, does it match the majority criterion? And if we look at it, the answer is actually yes. It does not violate it because A, remember, has 51.5% of the votes. So the only one that violated was the Borda count method in this example. Okay. So now we're on to objective number 2. And we're going to talk about head-to-head criterion. Remember, this is one of the fairness criterions. If a candidate is favored when comparing head-to-head with every other candidate, the candidate should be declared the winner. So this is also called the Condorcet Criterion. So the example says, suppose that 4 candidates are running for mayor of Springwater. Alvarez, A, Buchanan, B, Kakascik-Dye, C, and Davis, D. The election involves voter ranking the candidates with the results shown in Table 14.7. It says, Part A, is there one candidate who is favored over the others using a head-to-head comparison? Part B, who wins this election if the polarity method is used? Does that result violate the head-to-head comparison criterion? Part C, who wins this election if the Borda count method is used? Does the result violate the head-to-head criterion? Part D, who wins this election if the polarity with elimination method is used? Does this result violate the head-to-head criterion? And there's actually part E. It says, who wins the selection if the pairwise comparison method is used? Does the result violate the head-to-head criterion? This example is going to take us a while to work through. There's a lot of parts to it. So this is going to be a couple pages long. I'm going to go ahead and do part A here. Is there one candidate who's favored over all others using the head-to-head comparison? So for head-to-head, I'm going to look at each one. So I'm going to do D versus A, and I just started with D because that was the first one I saw. Okay, so who wins? D versus A. And the winner is D. Okay. So if I look at D versus B, who wins? D. D versus C, who wins? D. So comparing D to A, B, and C, we see that D wins every single time. So is it favored over all others? D is favored over all others. So that's part A. So part B says, Who wins this election if the polarity method is used? Does the result violate the head-to-head criterion? Okay, so if I look through this, who wins? It's going to be D, because D has the most amount of votes with 129. So does it violate it? And the answer is no, it does not violate it. Okay, part C is where we're going to need more space because we have to use the Borda count method. So please look at this preference table when you are concluding what gets one. Remember, with Borda count method, fourth place vote is going to receive 1 point. Third is going to receive 2. Second is going to receive 3, and first place is going to receive 4. Okay, so let's go ahead and do Borda count method. I could probably put Borda count method actually over here, and then we can use the rest on the next page. So I'm going to put that up there. Just going to make some lines here. This is Borda count. Okay, so Borda count method, remember, we're going to look at D first. So 129 of the people voted D as their first choice, so it's going to be 129 times 4. 90 people voted D as their last choice, so it's 90 times 1. 87 people voted D as their last choice, so it's 87 times 1, plus 78 people voted D as their second to last choice, so that's going to be 78 times 2, plus 42 people voted D as their last place choice, so 42 times 1. When I add that up, I get 512 plus 90 plus 87 plus 156 plus 42. And adding those together, I get 887 total votes. All right, now we have to look at A. So 129 people voted A as their second place vote, so it's 129 times 3, plus 90 people voted A as their first place vote, so 90 times 4, plus 87 people voted A as their second to last place vote, so 87 times 2, plus 78 people voted A as their last choice, so 78 times 1, plus 42 people voted A as their second to last place vote, so 42 times 2. And when you add that up, you get 387 plus 360 plus 174 plus 78 plus 84, and that gives me a grand total of 1,083. All right, so we've done D, we've done A, we now have to do B and C. So I'm going to put B over here. So 129 people voted B as their second to last place choice, so 129 times 2, plus 90 people voted B as their second to last place choice, so 90 times 2, plus 87 people voted B as their first place choice, so 87 times 4, plus 78 people voted B as their second place choice, so 78 times 3, plus 42 people voted B as their second place choice, so 42 times 3. And when we add this all up, we get 258 plus 180 plus 348 plus 234 plus 126. And when I get a grand total, I get the grand total of 1,146. Okay, so we have one more to go through, and that's C. And I'm going to put a little line here just to separate these out because I'm running out of room. Okay, so 129 people chose C as their last place choice, so 129 times 1. 90 people voted C as their second place choice, so 90 times 3, plus 87 people chose C as their second place choice, 87 times 3, plus 78 chose C as their first place choice, so 74 times 4, plus 42 people chose C as their first place choice as well. So 42 times 4. So that's 129 plus 270 plus 261 plus 312 plus 168. And that gives me a grand total of 1,140. Okay, so the winner of this barely with 6 votes is B. So B is the winner using the Borda count method, but they ask us for part C, who wins the selection if the Borda count method is used, and we said it was B. Does this result violate the head-to-head? Yes, because head-to-head, remember, the winner was D. So Borda count method violates. So we're going to put yes here. And I'm just going to make a little note that this violates it. Okay, part D, I'm going to have to use a new page because I am totally running out of room here. D says who wins the selection if the polarity with elimination method is used. Does the result violate the head-to-head criterion? So let's go ahead on the next page. So this is part D. Whoops, sorry guys. Page flipped back. So first of all, I have to know the total number of votes. Total number of votes is 426. So if I look at the first place votes, I see that D is the winner with 129. If I divide that by 426, I'm going to find out that I've got a problem here. I have only 30% of the votes going to D. So I have to use the elimination method. And with the elimination method, I have to choose the person who has the least amount of votes. And if I look through the first place votes, I see that that's B. So this is the second round. So all the B votes go to C now. Okay, so now D has 129, A has 90, and C is going to get B's votes. So C gets the 87 plus 78 plus 42, which gives me 207. Okay, so I'm going to say that C is the winner in the second round, but let's see if it has a majority of votes. Because remember, that's what the criteria is for polarity with elimination method. So 207 divided by 426 gives me 0.485, which is not high enough. So we have to go again. Okay, so now the third round, I have to eliminate the next person with the least amount of votes, which is going to be A. So we're going to get rid of A. Okay, so now D still has 129. I got rid of A, but the A votes, their second choice was C, so C gets the votes. So C gets what A had, which was 90. So we get 90 plus 87 plus 78 plus 42, and that'll give me 297. Divide that by 429, and we are okay. We are over the 50%. So the winner is C, using the polarity with elimination method. However, does it violate head-to-head criterion? And the answer is yes, it does. So what I'm going to do is on the previous page, I'm just going to put a little note that it violates it. Okay, going back. Now we're going to look at E. Who wins selection if the pairwise comparison method is used? Does the result violate the head-to-head criterion? Okay, so this is part E. Part E asks us to do the pairwise comparison. So I have to do that. And I know I have 4 different candidates. So I want to know how many pairwise comparisons I have. So it goes 4 times 4 minus 1, which is 3. Divide that by 2. So 12 divided by 2 is 6. So I know I have 6 different comparisons. So I have D versus A, D versus B, D versus C, A versus B, A versus C, and finally C versus B. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got all of them. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to go back to your table. I'm going to go ahead and erase this. And remember, I'm just looking at first place votes. So I'm comparing each one with first place votes. So let's see who wins. D versus A, D wins. Because D has more votes than A. D versus B, D wins. D versus C, D wins. A versus B, A wins. A versus C, C wins. And C versus B, C wins. So we got to tally these up. So D gets 3 points because it won 3 rounds. A gets 1 point because it won 1 round. C gets 2 points because it won 2 rounds. And B didn't win any rounds, so it gets 0 points. So the winner is D with 3 points. And remember, from the very beginning in part A, we said that D should be the winner if you compare the head-to-head criterion. So pairwise and head-to-head criterion aren't exactly the same thing, but in this case, they work the same way. So does it violate? No, because remember, we wanted D to be the winner. And that's it, guys.